Welcome to Bill and Rob's, an excellent adventure. I'm Bill Tilley.
And I'm Rob Schulte. Bill, it's been a big day.
Really?
Well, not just because we are just climbing this banana tree and ending this series, kind of. We might have one more in the hopper. But Bill, I know we've talked about this, and we try not to talk too much about my other projects on this podcast. It's an unwritten rule.
Well, let's be fair. You tried not to talk about them. I want to know what's going on all the time because I'm nosy.
It's a big day for Vanderpump Rules information.
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay, so everyone, a peek behind the kimono. We are recording on March 3rd, this episode, the year of our Lord 2023.
Not 2670.
No, although more on that later. I am recapping season 10 of Vanderpump Rules with my co-host Molly, and it's been going great, right? This new season has been incredible. It's very much kind of like old Vanderpump Rules. You know, we're out of lockdown. We've figured out how we want to tell storylines. You know, I say we. The Vanderpump Rules is just firing on all cylinders, which is making episodes fun and longer and more to discuss, yada, yada, yada.
Well, that's always good. Is anybody having long conversations by the dumpster?
Not as many, but I feel like there are a few to come because today there was breaking Vanderpump news. So this morning, I finished editing our recap of season 10, episode 4. And then TMZ puts out an article, breaking news, Tom Sandoval and Ariana Madix have split, one of the strongest couples on the show, because Tom cheated on her with Raquel, James Kennedy's ex-girlfriend, who has been incredibly confident and, broken out of her shell this season. And it's almost like, hey, great, you're really going for it. And I'm let down, man. I am let down.
No, you mean Tom put his Tom somewhere it wasn't supposed to be at this stage of the game? Come on, man.
They were like the dream team couple.
Rob, I just read an article the day before that they had written in one of the tell-alls things on the internet. They're one of the best couples ever because they communicate and they've weathered the storm. And the very next day, the storm breaks them in half.
Yep.
Oh, God.
And hey, this is day one. I'm sure more information will come out. And by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be like, oh, remember that hilarious little thing?
Yeah, that's fun because recording makes time travelers of us all. But this is now a fresh wound, dear listeners. Well, and
I had to do an emergency update episode, like a short one. So it's like I finished editing my weekly episode, and then I hopped on with a couple other Vanderpump fans and just did another episode, being like, "Wait, we need to talk this out. What have you heard? What have you heard? What have you heard?"
I have a great image of you just flipping all the switches going, we've got to record now. Stat.
It was very much the Vanderpump Rules war room this afternoon.
That's incredibly sad to hear because, you got me into watching these shows and I did think that they were a couple that as much as you could have it together in a Hollywood way, they seem to be pretty steady bucking the trends. So
yeah,
that is very disappointing to hear.
But you know what's not disappointing, Bill?
What's that?
Well, I guess we'll see by the end of today's episode when we give our ratings. But Battle for the Planet of the Apes from 1973. I can't believe we've made it this far, Bill.
We've gone back in time. We've gone forwards in time. We've done everything these apes have done. I think we should be commended. And we've managed to do it without getting stuffed and put in a museum or getting caught in any nets of any kind. Although last time I visited Rob, he did throw a net over me and drag me into the living room. So
it's true. Well, you had to get married, man.
That's
what was
true.
I going to do? Bonk you over the head with a coconut?
Yeah, ape shall get ape to wedding. That's pretty much what he yelled when he threw that net on me.
Ape shall eat casserole before wedding.
Ape shall not watch Nick Fury before wedding.
We broke all the rules.
We do. We're bad apes.
Well, should I read the monkey on the back of the box?
Please do read from the sacred skull that is the VHS container.
Set in 2670 AD, This last chapter focuses on Caesar, a benevolent leader presiding over a peaceful ape city. Ah, man, I wish it was called Ape City,
Mm-hmm.
where humans are treated kindly. Ooh. Under Caesar's rule, this future world could be an idyllic one, but there are threats to everyone's safety from two sides. One danger is militant guerrilla General Aldo, who is openly hostile to Caesar's desire to live peacefully with humans. The other threat comes from a tribe of still intelligent men who have been turned into mutants by atomic radiation. Hey, we've seen them before in the past, but the
Yeah.
future.
Both.
Anyway, finally, simmering tensions and conflicts erupt in a desperate confrontation between man and ape. That is the explosive climax of this sci-fi thriller. When the smoke clears, the carnage is everywhere, but there is also the hope of a new beginning for both apes and man. Wow.
Dun dun dun.
Bill, okay. We watched this movie. We've watched so many ape movies. This one, I think, is the epitome of doing a lot with a little. Not much of a budget on this one.
No, and of course, the smallest budget of all the movies, because that's how sequels work. It's always less money, try to give you a little bit more. And I think this movie is a nice little example of how that can work out. Like, it does look cheaper than the other ones, but not a ton, I don't think. I
No.
mean, these movies really had streamlined budgets every time, and it seems like every time they did it, the directors found a way to make stuff work, and the scenery looks good. I think it benefits them this time that the Ape City setting in this movie is not the Ape City that we see in the original
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes. It's kind of a treehouse type of place, not an Ewok village or anything elaborate, but it's built, it's a live set. It looks like a place you live in a sort of apocalyptic future setting. So I think it's a good deal.
This follows the story quite well. It creates even more lore for Planet of the Apes. Does it execute an entire story? Well, I guess we'll find out as we go through our segments. How about that?
We will, but I'd like to say for this, as you kind of know a lot about this, Rob, you've done it on your hit podcast, Pumpkin Spice. You've covered franchises before. This is not your
Yes.
first trip down this hole.
Yeah.
And I think probably by and large, the expectation of a lot of franchises is some of them get to be a real slog
Yeah.
as they go along because they stall out or the ideas are stale or they're reheated. And I got to say, this Planet of the Apes franchise, to me, does not feel like a slog. All these
No?
movies are pretty good and they tell a story. Of course, we have things we'd like to see, some things we could like to see better. But all in all, when I finished this movie, I did not look at the screen and go, well, thank the lawgiver, that's over with. So, kind of a testament to what they did overall with this one.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. It's interesting because I think this movie really gets better the more you get into it. So, like, you kind of, I don't know, there's some eye rolly parts in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's less eye rolly parts as you go on. It's almost as if, like, well, I'm eye rolling so much that, like, but wait, I'm eye rolling less and less as we go along. And then there's a big kind of eye roll at the end, but you're like, but that eye roll is worth it. I'm glad I got to see that. Because this movie kind of has its own Chimperham Lincoln that Joe was talking about
It does.
on Nick Fury. And that I'm sure we'll find a time at some point to talk about ourselves. Should we get into our segments?
I think we should. I think for one last time in this franchise proper, we should open up another of the sacred scrolls and look into some evolutionary studies about this film.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's discuss some of the fun little facts we've figured out about this feature film. Bill, I'm gonna start with one. Okay.
All right.
The original Planet of the Apes movie, Heston's in his spacecraft, smoking his cigar, shooting up something into his arm, and the clock or the calendar on the computer dial says 2673. And the opening of Battle for the Planet of the Apes. It's Battle 4, right?
Yes.
Battle
Battle
for the Planet
4.
of the. Hey, I'm only just watched it. What am I talking about? Anyway, in the opening for this movie, the lawgiver telling the story, because we've got this bookend of lawgiver.
Uh-huh.
The title reads North America 2670. We've come full Terminator, Bill.
Wow.
And
That's true.
I think we can discuss this as we go along, but like, is this because it doesn't want to tell us the timelines have overlapped, or is it telling us that the timelines are about to overlap, or is it just happy coincidence? I guess we'll find out.
Probably. I get the feeling as we've gone through these movies and researched them, it's a little bit of remember some stuff and a little bit of kind of don't care. It just sounds like, hey, this is kind of where we need to be when this one ends to come full circle. And they went, close enough.
Well, and there is that so much talk in this movie about being like, well, there's many futures and you could change the course of the future by affecting the past with the knowledge of the future and yada yada. That's why I'm saying we come full Terminator.
Yeah, so I really applaud that little part when we got to the movie. The orangutan Virgil, played by Paul Williams, gives the multiverse explanation. And at this point in our lives in these movies, we kind of know that it's the Marty McFly splits off this future, that future. So you kind of give yourself an out, but he does it in this kind of interesting elementary grade school teacher way that, and you're like, yep, that's pretty much what happened. So kind of doesn't really mean too much if this doesn't line up because we're doing something new. So it was neat that they took the time to write that little bit of backdoor escapism into that one.
Well, what's something fun that you found out about this film?
So I thought this film was super interesting in the fact of like all these sequels, they all got a little bit panned each time for being a little too violent. One to the next one, Escape was more violent than Planet, Conquest, so on and so forth. And so after Conquest, which was pretty violent at the end, there's a huge ape uprising. There's a lot of shooting and killing in that movie. And the studio was like, we gotta roll that back just a little bit. Got to make this a little more family friendly. And so what do we get? We get a movie that has two major firefights in it that are extended, and an episode where a child is no more thanks to the nefarious act of one of our main protagonists. And they thought this was toning it down?
Yeah, well, it's not as bloody, Bill, so it's okay to show this type of battle and death and tanks and
that is true because there's a lot of mortar fire that knocks people down, but doesn't really. There's no blood. When Cornelius falls from the tree, there's no blood. I especially like the fact that you don't really know that anybody's hurt at all during this movie. It's kind of just like if you could play at war on the playground and you just ran up, and you go to your friend, boom, and you fall down. It's the same effect. It's very violent, but it's almost nobody gets hurt. Maybe this is what Stephen Cannell was watching when he came up with the A-Team concept.
Yes, or what is it, Renegade, where he just has to put a bandage around his head, and then he's fine.
Yep, he's all good. So yeah.
Well, and this is really funny. This totally is like schoolyard war because there's always going to be one kid in the schoolyard that would be like, "Tricked ya! Everyone's actually still alive. Hop up."
Oh well, we got those kids. It's like, no, I got an 8-proof shield, and you can't get through it. Nah.
Oh yeah.
Did you see the little kid pointing the stick at Cornelius when they're playing war? Did you see who that was?
No.
I looked it up in the credits. That is John Landis, director. John Landis.
Really?
Yeah, he's the little kid playing war with Cornelius out there. It's quite interesting. I saw his name in the credit, and I was like, that can't be right.
That is wild. John Landis. What's your favorite John Landis movie?
Oh, yeah, there's so many of them.
Yeah. How about Susan's Plan?
No, if I really wanted to get a rise out of you, Rob, I'd just say the Blues Brothers and move on because I know that's your favorite movie.
Oh, you know I love the Blues Brothers. Anyway, let's move on. I'll just say that another fun fact is that Aldo, the gorilla, is named Aldo the gorilla who can't read. We're always
Mhm.
hearing about these gorillas that can sign language and read and all this sort of stuff. Aldo cannot read. And he's
It's
named
true.
after the ape that led the revolt against the humans in the original timeline, while Caesar led the revolt in the second timeline.
That's interesting. I didn't pick up on that until the very end of the movie. I was like, why is that sticking in my head? And yeah, that is the name of the original one. So it just, mine in their old script for names and places, I guess. But
Yeah. And when they say second timeline here, because I'm still thinking this is all the same story, even with the newer ones. But are they saying the second timeline then is the ones with James Franco and John Lithgow? Or are they saying when we watched the first Planet of the Apes and we hear the lore with Charlton Heston that they talk about Caesar doing an uprising?
yeah, the newer ape movies appear to just be their take on that lore. Matt Reeves taking that story and running with it and going, this is how that could have gone down. In a way, they kind of Mad Max it. Like all the Mad Max movies they say that they don't necessarily have to be the same guy or the same continuity. You can look at them that way or not. They're just stories that are told. So
Sure.
ape shall not keep continuity with other ape, apparently.
Okay. Well then what's your last fun little fact?
So it plays into the earlier point for budget. During the battle at the treehouse, Ape City, you watch this scene. There's a lot of explosions happening in
Yeah.
there,
Boom bam.
and a lot of places getting blown up. A lot of tree houses go down, and I kept thinking to myself, I always forget where this place is supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be on the East Coast in Apes timeline stuff, but it's clearly California because wood explodes and keeps
Yes.
burning like it's filled with napalm, just like on chips. But they only blew up one treehouse and filmed it from a ton
Really?
of angles. Yeah, this is the oldest trick in the book, but it fooled me because I'm watching this and I'm going, well, they cooked a couple of these tree houses right out of the sky, but nope, they blew up one. They filmed it from several different angles. They edited it all in.
Wow.
And I'm like, it just goes to show you, man, you don't have to have a big budget. It can't be a problem if you don't let it. Of course, a better budget is always a good thing, but it really shows the creativity of old school filmmaking when they're like, no, this is what we got. So let's do this. Let's be creative. And we don't have the world, but you can make a product that looks anywhere from serviceable to great. And I think this one actually looks great because I don't pick up on it that it's the same one
No.
over and over. And I usually catch that stuff right away. So kudos to them for doing a great job with the budget on this one where they could. Now
Absolutely.
that doesn't extend to the entire movie, but it keeps it from falling into Drek for sure.
For sure. Well, we don't want to fall into Drek either, and that's why
No.
we're going to move on to our next segment. Oohs and ahs, or
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
ooh-oohs.
Ah, ah, ah.
Ah. Well, I started last time, Bill. You want to start this time?
Sure. One of the things that jumped out to me was Mandemus, the orangutan who runs the armory at Ape City.
Uh-huh.
Caesar has given him this job. He lives in the armory. Anybody that wants anything goes up to the little hole in the door and they have to explain why they're there and whatever. And that extends even to Caesar. When he wants to head to the Forbidden City with McDonald and Virgil, he has to go to the door and they have to explain what they want. And Mandemus basically is, you can tell, an academic ball buster. He is just like questioning why they need it to the point where the questions are almost philosophical in nature of what you're doing with the weapon. Why do you need the weapon to go get knowledge? And it's kind of fun. It doesn't take too long, but at the end, McDonald asks for 3 pistols in case they need to shoot something small like a rabbit. And Demas is like, well, why do you need 3 pistols to shoot one rabbit? I mean, he is pretentious right up to the end. And it doesn't come off as dumb because everybody in this exchange is smart. And Caesar's looking at it like, well, yeah, this is what I asked for.
He also knows he's being bullshitted.
Yeah. He's
You
like,
know?
nah, I don't think so. So I really thought that was a real fun exchange just to see the intelligence of everybody kind of play out on screen in this fun little moment.
Oh yeah. Um, one thing that we've already talked about that I just found amusing in this episode is like how fun this movie is on such a low budget.
Hmm.
This is taking the step out, but like even that scene that you're talking about, like that armory could have been made in any sort of way. It's obviously, a little shack with guns on the walls, but like for some reason, we believe it. It takes no effort for Aldo and the guerrilla crew to bust in. But like this idea that, Mandemus is guarding the things, like, what are you guarding? There's nothing here that like people could not take over, but it works. We
Hmm.
watched it. We didn't have a problem with it at all. And I think that's one example. The like you said with the tree houses, it works. It got us. Maybe it's a little bit so at the last battle when it looks kind of more like a middle school football scrimmage
Yeah.
than it does a big, huge, epic battle. But that's okay too, because what the hell's left of this planet? We don't know. We only have like this area of the planet to go from. And it's like, okay, well, for everything we've seen, this looks about right.
Yeah, and there's moments in the movie where it kind of sets your expectations. The one thing they seem to have a lot of is food and water, which is good, but it kind of shows that they don't have a lot of everything else. So
No.
when the invading humans show up, and one of their main points is we got to get the school bus working because it's our only transport, you're like, okay, that sounded dumb for a second, but then you see it and you're like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
You're just, this is all you've got to work with. So it suspends disbelief in a nice even way across the board. It's not a big jump. And yeah, anybody could have come up with a penknife and cut through one board and got into Mandemus'
Yeah.
shack and got whatever they wanted. But you do. I bought it, so good on them for it. It's a lot of fun, and they didn't have to spend a lot of money to do it.
No. But what's something else that you liked about this film, Bill?
I'll say it in 3 words: fight like apes.
Great moment.
Caesar's battle cry at the end is just big fun for me because this movie, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, in my opinion, lives the best up to the lead off word in its title. Uh, Escape from the Planet of the Apes wasn't so much an escape. They'd already done it. Conquest was more of a city, not the planet. And we see a very small worldview of this. We're really following this group. But there's battles in
Yeah.
this movie. We get some. And they're fairly substantial, at least timeline. They might be not so substantial for what we see on screen, but it's
Yeah.
there. It is a battle. And when Caesar does his last really cool, fool the humans bit and lets his battle cry out, and all the ape actors jump up and they go full on look, no more guns and karate. This is all just swinging and flailing and doing whatever. I'm like, yes, this is what we want to see. It
Yes.
really, it's a great line. Roddy delivers the goods, and it's just a fun moment to set this final battle off on. It's great.
Oh, I love it. I love it. My other like is related to what I said in the evolutionary study. And that's that I love everything that has to do with the updated timeline of this movie. And I'm not sure where it fits in with the new one, like you were saying, kind of Mad Maxy and how they're doing it. If I give them credit. If after watching all of these and I don't give them any credit, it is like, okay, you're just totally remaking Planet of the Apes with a new story, but starting from the beginning and not starting with, Planet of the Apes, which honestly, they probably should have done. No one actually cares about the origin story of Planet of the Apes once you've seen all of these movies. Like, it's much more fun to see Escape from the Planet of the Apes and then go back to the 70s and talk about, okay, Caesar was born. Okay, now dogs and cats are no longer pets, whatever
Yes.
it is. But having seen the newer ones, it's like, okay, if virus breaks out to make humans dumb, but the apes are getting smart, but they were trying to solve Alzheimer's, and then I get a second movie where, okay, there's a dam And then there's a third movie where they're fighting more. Like, no, and like none of them really connect. At least these movies are just, I don't know, connected in a weird way, but I like it.
You can see the thread that connects all these movies. It is a loop. It's not a perfect loop, and some of the details are a little off, but I'm completely in agreement with you because when they tell the story of Life Before Planet of the Apes, it's very concise. I mean, you get it. All
Yeah.
the things they say, you don't need particularly to see. And it's the problem with a lot of prequels is that you know the outcome, so you have to show me something that I desperately want to see. And the only thing that I would have wanted from those movies would have been like, I want to see the ape armies attack the Eiffel Tower. I want to see last stands in Antarctica. What does the Navy do with a bunch of chimpanzees that have learned to drive battleships? And you're in it for the spectacle at that
Yeah.
point. And for the spectacle, I only need one movie. And if they'd done that, that would have been fine. But that really, they drug the concept out into a bunch of things that I don't need to see with a bunch of people I don't particularly care about and can't really get connected to. But I got connected to these people in this movie.
Here's kind of a bigger conceptual problem, I think, now that we have so many apes under our belt. What was it we said, Bill, when we watched the first three of like the newer ones, that they didn't need to be three movies? They could have easily been two movies, right? Something
Right.
like that.
They could have got it down to two or perhaps even 1 2-hour
Yeah.
movie and distilled all of that extra stuff into that. And maybe at least the first two movies could have been one movie and the
Yeah.
last movie could have been all fighting.
Well, and also the second and third movie could have just been one movie. So, like,
Yeah.
if you wanted to have that whole story of the first movie of Rise, okay, it's long, but definitely then make the second two the same thing. You didn't need these like two separate villains and climate changes. But if they were to have kept it this trilogy, and we all know this Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is going to come out sometime before our deaths.
In 2673.
Yeah. Imagine if, say, the second movie and the third movie, Dawn and War, were one movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were the third movie. What if the second movie that didn't happen would have actually gone back and shown us other stuff from the 70s, right? You know, with all the timeline talk, it could have been like, here's some tapes of things that happened, but we prevented it because by this point, you know, you could time jargon yourself out of it, out of like what actually happens in this timeline, because you could Terminator it. You could say like, well, we know that one future has these scrolls that say this, so we sent another astronaut out after, you know what I mean? And
Right.
it would have still connected to these films in a fun way that allowed them to continue on whatever story they were going to make. And we would have got to see Grape Juice Plus in the new movie.
I'm always up for some grape juice plus, but yeah, it's the mining of a past franchise for new stuff. I think they can't help but at some point do what Reeves did, and they're going to just new take it and go, look, we just drew all
Yeah.
our inspiration from these movies, but
Oh,
they're
yeah.
not really those movies. And that's fine. And that's why I'm glad we looked at them the way that we did, because if you look at those three plus these five, they don't match up at all.
No.
Not even close. But this movie, I guess because this whole franchise done at a time when sequels weren't the norm and the studio just kept green lighting them after the last one went, we're done. No, one more. Okay, we're done. Nah, we got to do another one. It's just,
Yeah.
it really put them in a scramble to come up with something that would make all this work. And they did for the most part. They had a pretty good first movie to mine from. The concept was simple. And I think that's where I know I'm enjoying these movies, because it sticks to the simple concept. It shows me more of how it got there, but it's not so overindulgent like the three movies of location and people and all this stuff that I don't care about in these long drawn out diatribes and monologues of like, I get it. Good ape, bad ape, this. It just doesn't need to be that much. They kept it
No.
short and sweet, and so you can down each one of these fun little old apes movies like a fun little candy and go, that was nice.
Yeah. Well, Bill, all that to be said, Who is your champ chimp?
So it's really tough for me at this point to not just keep giving it to Roddy McDowall. I think he's the glue that holds these movies together. But this time, I'm going to give it to Mendez, Culp's right hand man in this movie. He's always trying to talk everybody off the ledge when things are getting crazy. Culp's losing it, going war happy. He's, hey, everybody, let's chill. You know, we've had peace. Maybe the apes just came to looking for something. He's reminds me so much of the William Wyndon president in Escape from Planet of the Apes with like this voice of reason when everybody else is starting to lose it a little bit around him. Of course, he gets his legs kicked out from under him every time, but he just keeps getting back up going, maybe we don't want to go to war. Maybe we don't want to launch the bomb. And so I call him the return of the sympathetic human. He's after Escape and Conquest really kind of drove any sympathy for the humans in those movies I had out of me, and not counting the humans that are at Ape City because they're kind of on a different plane because they're working together. But it was nice to see that it wasn't just your standard everybody in the mutants camp bad. There was variety, and that makes it just a tiny bit more realistic because there's always going to be somebody, even if it's just one person on the other side of the fence going, maybe we shouldn't. So I give all the bananas in the bunch to Mendez for just trying to get everybody to get along.
Here's the thing. I've got a champ chimp for this movie. And like you, it's not a monkey per se, but it is kind of. And that would be the Caesar statue we see at the beginning and the end of this movie.
Okay.
Because I think it truly represents our entire journey. It's a shining beacon, a work of art, something that we know exists, and we look at it and we're happy to see it. And we're happy to know it exists. But by the end of watching all of these, we shed a tear, much like Caesar's statue sheds a tear at the end of this film. What does it mean? That's up for a debate, and maybe we can get into that when we're giving our final thoughts.
That's awesome. I think one thing it means is that Rob wants one of these for his backyard in his new home. I think that's what one of those things means.
Listeners, please, I will pay for 1 year of your Patreon subscription if you can figure out how I can get life-size Caesar crying statue for my backyard.
Ape shall give Patreon for large concrete ape.
You can't make me laugh when I'm drinking from my BugCon the last bottle water bottle.
This is the advantage of doing it on video. I can see and timed it perfectly.
That's true. All right, Bill. Well, it can't all be things that we liked. Sometimes some stuff in these films drive us bananas. So what's driving you bananas?
Well, it's the thing that I see in a lot of movies, and it happens here. Caesar's no fool. He's a really good leader. He's a smart creature. But, man, he makes the same mistakes other movie leaders do. He's got a clear rival and danger in General Aldo, the gorilla. And he constantly leaves him unchecked to do whatever he wants. Like, it couldn't be more obvious until, like, at the very end where Aldo basically does go, nah, I think I'll just kill you. He's got all of Ape City behind him, Caesar does. Clearly, there's just a ton of them that are loyal to him. He could have him watched. He could have him checked. He could at least keep some kind of eye on him, but he doesn't.
Put him in ape jail.
Yeah, well, I mean, even at that point, probably, because he defies him openly a whole bunch of times, and they just let it slide. But, it just doesn't make any sense. It is a moment where your leader seems kind of dumb because you can see it. Why can't they see it? And this is bad because at the end of the day, it costs him his son. And that's not great. Which, side note to that, it's weird. Caesar seems to get over that trauma a little too easy at the end of this movie. I felt a little off by that, but more off by just him doing the whole, well, I guess everything will be fine. No, it's not going to be fine. It's just not. So
not at all.
Stop doing that.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Aldo, also, he couldn't send him to ape jail because he's a student. Maybe ape juvie. I don't
Well,
know.
he wouldn't be able to read an escape plan. And of note, Aldo, played by veteran actor Claude Akins, who I
Yeah.
know is Sheriff Lobo from BJ and the Bear, and Sonny Pruitt from Moving On, two big time trucker TV show influences on me. So to see big punch him out Claude Akins in this ape mask, which not the best ape mask, like
That's one of the things that drove me bananas, Bill. Like the costumes in this movie.
oh yeah.
Here's the thing, they all still look good for like they're not Party City as much as some of the background masks were in other movies.
Hmm.
They're not Spirit Halloween, but like nothing about these faces really move.
No.
And when it's really up close, they do a fine job of like painting their face so it doesn't look like there's eye holes or anything. But there's no expression to be had. And there's little expression to be had on many of these movies. But this one was really tough because it just felt like a lot of them were Pez dispensers when they were talking.
I feel your pain because yeah, they can't seem to close their mouths at all in this
Yeah.
version of the ape mask, and like you said, the eyes, kind of rough, little, very much monkey suit, in a way that we didn't see in the first movie. And there's so many of them this time. Like we praised
Monkey
Escape
suit,
for
and there's no weddings at all.
not at all. Not it's definitely not for me. Mine's done. I'm not doing that
Yeah.
again. I'm keeping the one I got. But yeah, I mean, this movie's littered with close-ups and close-ups and close-ups of all the apes and the orangutans. So yeah, I feel your pain on that one. It's one part where the budget really peeks its head out and goes, "Hey, look at lack of me." So
Well, and speaking of that, I'll just give my second dislike, and that's just that I know I was kind of talking about the battle before, but like it still could have been more. It could have been different. I don't think with a low budget they had to do this type of battle. It does not have to be like one warring side, the other warring side. They could have been a little bit more creative on what the battle ended up being because it's in the title of the movie.
mhm.
You got a low budget, maybe think outside the banana.
Make it more appealing. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yes.
Come on, you
Yes.
set me up for that one.
Of
And
course.
it makes sense because just like before, now you have tied into my second point is these fight scenes, they drag on and on. The
Uh-huh.
chase through the Forbidden City with Caesar and McDonald and Virgil against the humans is a long chase. The fight scene at Ape City is long. And, we can see it. We know what it is. It's padding. It's a
Yep.
lot of padding. Otherwise, this movie would probably only be about 65 minutes because not a
Yep.
lot of story here either. And I get it, but boy, this is one where some new camera angles really would have.
Would have been great.
It would have been great because they just shoot it from one angle for the most part and run with it. Even reverse angles, or I would love to have seen it if they'd gotten further into the tree line even.
Give me something.
Yeah, let them climb up in the trees and shoot, even if they're still shooting guns, just more with just what the scenery is would have been great. But I'm sure they were pressed for time and budget, and that's more planning and blocking and everything else. But yeah, it's the double-edged sword of if you're going to have your fight scene go on that long, you really need to throw some more money at it. And if you don't have any money, then you're kind of stuck. So it did drag at the end a lot.
Well, Bill, who's your dirty ape?
Well, I can only give it to one person. It's Culp, the leader of the irradiated humans in the Forbidden City. And I'm not giving it to him just because he's an evil man, which he is. I'm giving it to him because his plan for his final solution has a huge gaping logic hole in it. He tells his assistant Alma that they're leaving to go battle at Ape City, and if things get bad, if it looks like they're going to lose, he will send her a signal for her to launch the Alpha Omega nuclear warhead, which we saw from beneath the planet. It makes its glorious return. Although he never considers during this that he might, I don't know, get shot and killed before he can give this signal, which kind of is what happened. So, no, man, you can't have that kind of dead man's plan. There's no way that's going to work. If you don't make it back alive, then you don't get to launch your thing, which I'm glad. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they didn't do it, but it's just not a good. planned for your let's take everybody out if you take me down kind of thing. He needed a dead man switch or anything wired into him, but nah,
He needed
just
that thing that from Spawn where Martin Sheen had the switch attached to his heart. And
oh yeah, the Steve Forrest box from
yeah.
Captain America 79.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep. Well, Bill, my dirty ape, quick and dirty ape. It's Aldo. Not just
Oh.
because he's the bad guy, bad ape in this movie, but he didn't want to learn. And I feel like if you don't educate yourself, you're just setting yourself up for failure and to fall out of the tree.
Clearly, he has never seen a PSA from the G.I. Joe cartoon.
Exactly.
Knowing is none of the battle for him. Now, see, when you said that, I was sure for a minute you were going to say because he does the thing that I had friends do this in college that I call them the backfighters. He waits until the very end of the movie when all the fighting is done to swoop in on like the last 6 guys and smack them over the head and go, "Look how great I am!" Standing on top of the bus.
Yep. Taking out the trash once everyone else has been kicked to the curb.
Yeah, well, I support you. He is a dirty, dirty ape.
Well, Bill, it's time to take care of monkey business. We've only got a couple of fingers left on this monkey's paw. We got to figure out if it's a packed house or a madhouse.
Yes, is your hand going to come down on the glowing button that sets the bomb off, or are we going to look at the crying lawgiver and just ride off into a happy sunset? I think I'm going to take the lead on this one, Rob.
Oh, please do.
Yeah, I'm going to stretch out and extend myself for that. This movie is a packed house. It's a great ending to this franchise for what they could do with it. It's almost like through this whole series, as we said before, it's gone against everything that was put up against it. And they've managed to walk away with something that maybe not what you would have wanted from this concept, but you're happy to have seen. And this one really ties everything together well. It picks up from the last movie, although I could have done without the large exposition dump of previously seen on at the beginning of it. But, it takes this franchise to its natural conclusion. It decides to close the loop. And I'm glad that it does. And it does it in an overall satisfying way. It's not what we would call a blockbuster now, but it's a good movie. The story connects all up. The actors in it are still great. It's just a lot of fun. And I applaud them for making, I would have said chicken salad out of that, but I guess it would be ape salad, banana salad out of, rotten bananas.
Orange salad.
Yeah. Everybody's still top of the line, especially Roddy McDowall. He never drops in any of these movies. He gives it his all. He's not phoning it in. It's not like Die Hard 5 or anything like that. It's just a great little thing, and it's a fun movie. I think it actually probably plays better on our smaller screens now. To see this on the big screen would have been like, there's not a lot going on here.
Need that Blu-ray Criterion re-release of Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
With 900 minutes of extended battle scenes.
Yeah.
I think I'll pass on that one, but I'm going to give it its due. Everybody did a great job. It brought me to a satisfying conclusion for the end of this original franchise, and it made me very happy that I went on this trip through the future and the past and the future again with you.
Well, Bill, you say it's a packed house. You have a lot of evidence to back that pack, as it were. This movie alone, I don't think has a cohesive story to tell. I think they part of the time rely on the lore that's been set before them to get us to the next set piece or line they want to connect the story to. And it just doesn't make a ton of sense. The whole movie is bookended by the lawgiver talking to children about the history of their world, but they fall short at the end. And we talked about this at the beginning of this episode when I said, how kind of fun it is, how close in time it is, but they give themselves an out by saying it's 3 years prior to when Charlton Heston lands on the planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this movie ends with human children and ape children learning from the lawgiver, ostensibly living in harmony. So they hedge their bet on, well, if you want it to be that it all just starts over and it becomes what we've seen, well, we've got 3 years to get there. Or you can say they've changed the timeline and now humans and apes are living together in harmony. When the ape pulls the girl's hair, her pigtail, we span over to the Caesar statue and he's crying. And that is, I think, supposed to tell us, if you want to look at it that way, that like, see, yeah, the apes are going to take over and the humans are going to be put to slavery. But in 3 years, like, I know a lot can happen in 3 years, but they've set us up to think that the timeline has changed. And it's not, even if it is supposed to be a switcheroo that says, oh, you thought they were going to save and it's not, it's actually going to be the way it always was. It's not delivered well enough for me. And that's only due to this film. And I think they could have added that extra jab at the end if they wanted it to in a more significant way, or made it even more ambiguous. But it's just not done well. And I have to tell you, Bill, I think this is the only one of the originals that I'm going to say is a madhouse.
Totally fair. I see your point. And total honesty, if we'd had another level of grade, like,
Yeah.
This is an okay matinee, that's what I would have graded it. Because I'm looking at this from a total franchise standpoint. If you're just watching this movie, I agree with everything you just said. It's kind of weird and it doesn't really fall together. And it has production issues. It just does. They've messed with these movies so much along the way that they are confusing. And you do kind of have to decide on your own, what am I watching? And I'm with you, especially on the end. The end is somewhat ambiguous because I know when I saw the tear come out of the statue, I went, why? What is this?
Who? What?
Are we sad? Are we happy? I don't know. So
Yeah.
it is definitely confusing. If it had been structured in a way where we saw the Icarus come out of the sky and land in the water, and that was the end of the movie, that would have been a really cool setup. But we would have needed that original timeline. And yeah, I don't think the humans that we saw in Planet of the Apes 1 are the ones we see 3 years back in battle with the little kids. There's just no way to get there. So,
and one final thought, Bill. At no point in this movie did they not feel like showing the Statue of Liberty? Come on. It's your last chance. Just milk it. They haven't done it for any other movie since or in between.
Oh, if only the battle could have taken place at the Statue of Liberty.
Oh my God. And then we would have had those caves if we would have anything.
Look at this. You've undone my entire feelings on the end of this movie with our conversation. But
well, I'm sorry. Now we'll just have to get some fan films going.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But yeah, hey, that's the fun part of having this conversation. So why we had it in the first place.
Well, Bill, I think we can safely say, and we've mentioned this in past episodes, but we will be covering the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes film.
Yes.
But it'll be our guest style format where we're not necessarily going to go through all of our different segments, but we're going to talk about what we liked, disliked, what's fun about it, and just have a fun conversation with our buddy Joe. How could we not have Joe back for that after telling his story of seeing it in theaters?
It was foregone conclusion. Joe had to come back for this. And I'm so looking forward to this movie, Rob. In the last couple of days, as we've gotten close to the end of this, it's like, I'm really ready for just some nutso 8 movie. Let's throw some budget at this bad boy and just stink up the screen or go crazy or have a great time. I don't know. I've never seen this movie and I'm really jazzed to see it. I may feel differently after we watch it, but that's kind of why we're doing it. So I'm looking forward to this.
Well, I want to look forward to right now saying thank you to Mrs. Colombo for QAing these episodes, Jonathan for doing our art, Rob Adler for editing this series. You've been great. Thank you. Draxium, Dr. Z for putting together that theme song. And Bill, like everyone who has decided to join the Patreon, it is amazing to know that we have support. And although we're recording these before we launch, I can only imagine the amount of friends that have decided to say, hey, we support you enough to give you $5. It's all worth it just to talk to you, Bill. But to know that people want to help us keep the lights on has been great. And I just want to say, if you like this series, Bill and I are going to be doing some fun stuff, video footage in between this and while we work up to our next series that is Bill's choice. I chose Planet of the Apes. And so it's going to be good.
Things are going to get a little crazy. And I echo all of Rob's sentiments, especially with our friends out there. It's great when we hear from you and see a post on social media or you shoot us some stuff on the Discord that you enjoyed listening to it. It's what this is all about. We're finding the fun in the movies and having fun with our friends again. But it is really nice to hear some support and to know that people are enjoying what we're doing out there and having a good time with it. So anything that you can do to spread the word of the show, we would greatly appreciate your assistance in that.
Absolutely. Well, Bill, I will see you next time, and we'll see the listeners next time. Maybe they'll hear us, but regardless, we ain't done yet. So look to some of our special extra episodes like we talked about, our video content, and all other fun things that we're going to be doing here on the Patreon to make your money worth it. It's great.
Sounds great. I'm off to eBay to find a large lawgiver statue for Rob's backyard. So I guess I will see you next week, Robs.
Yeah, and be on the lookout, everyone, for Bill's announcement of what our next series is going to be. But we're not going to tell you yet.
Nope. Got to tune in.
Bye.
Later.